Hi, this is Rachel Young, and today for my presentation I want to discuss the impact that social systemic limitations have on society. First, let's define the topic of interest. What do I mean by social limitations? Social limitations can be anything that prevents someone from interacting with their society like normal people do. So this could be anything from racism or sexism, or in the case of the God of Small Things, we're given the caste system. So how does this relate to identity? Our identity is what makes up who we are, whether that be our race or gender or sexuality or our job or character traits. Everything that makes up who we are is our identity. And we wouldn't be who we are without our identity. So today I want to present to you, through the God of Small Things, how social limitations can be incredibly detrimental to the discovery and formation of one's identity. So the author of The God of Small Things, Arundhati Roy, is both a beautiful writer, but also a political activist. So she uses her books as a platform to explain the corrupted hold that the old caste system has on India's society. And the character that she gives us to represent that is Velutha. If we're to take a look at Velutha's life from our standards and point of view, he seems like a very good person. He has all of the desirable character traits that you would expect in a protagonist or just overall good person. He's very skilled and hardworking, and we know that based off of his work from the factory and his ability to make furniture and machinery and just generally be better than all the other workers. We also know that he's confident and kind as he brings gifts to Amu as a child, and how he plays with and entertains Rahel and Estha. However, if you put Velutha in the context of the God of Small Things, most of his character is overlooked because of his social status as a paravan. In the God of Small Things, I believe it's on page 72 of the book, Mamachi explains that if only he hadn't been a paravan, he might have become an engineer. So we see in the book that his life is only sustained and his identity is only defined by this caste system. Even at the scene of his arrest, which eventually led to his death, Velutha's sense of identity was near non-existent as the police officers beat him up. Text is on page 292 and 293. It says, "The twins were too young to know that these were only history's henchmen, sent to square the books and collect the dues from those who broke its laws. What Estapen and Rahel witnessed that morning, though they didn't know it then, was a clinical demonstration in controlled conditions. This was not war, after all, or genocide, of human nature's pursuit of ascendancy, structure, order, complete monopoly. If they, the police officers, hurt Velutha more than they intended to, it was only because any kinship, any connection between themselves and him, any implication that if nothing else, at least biologically he was a fellow creature, had been severed long ago. They were not arresting a man, they were exercising fear." So in this scene, we can see, and this is essentially kind of the death of Velutha, we can see that any semblance of Velutha's humanity is just gone. The police officers do not care about him, nor do they see him as any sort of equal or human being. Because of his social identity as a paravan, his beating and death were almost seen more as a box to be checked off for the day, as opposed to a real person's life who was being beat up and arrested and all of this. So Velutha's birth and life and death are all shaped by his predefined social status, rather than an image that he created for himself. He has no opportunity to improve his place in society despite the goodness of his character, and he has no opportunity to define his own identity. So while I was brainstorming for this, I was thinking about how this applies, because it can kind of feel intangible because of how kind of distant the caste system is from what we know and understand. One thing that I noted while I was watching an interview of Roy was how she explained that there's lots of media coverage over things like the Holocaust and the American Civil Rights Movement, and etc., etc. However, almost no one talks about the severity of the social situation in India that is still going on, because the caste system was abolished, but all of the horrors of the people suffering has not ended whatsoever. Besides this, we also need to be mindful of supporting minorities in our own communities, because although we may not be able to support people far away, we can support people that are in our own communities, that might be struggling with social limitations or identity, so that we don't end up silencing someone else's voice in history, like Velutha, when there's no reason to. And thank you for listening to my presentation. Here are my secondary sources.